about what's been behind us. In 1908, 118 years ago, a mill in New England supported their Jewish employees by providing Saturday off to observe Shabbat. This was a request that was made by Jewish employees in New England in this manufacturing plant. And it made sense to the owners to give the Jewish employees this day off because they were struggling with honoring their religious obligations and coming to work. But when they did this, the Christian employees were still required to come in and work on Sunday. So if you will, this was the time in American history where people of a certain class were working every day of the week. And when the Christian employees heard that the Jewish employees were going to get the day off, they too then championed and said, well, we want to take Sundays off as well because that's our day of observance. And the company capitulated and said, yes, that was the beginning of the 5-day work week. It is more generally attributed to Henry Ford, but this is where it started, in a manufacturing mill unknown in the Northeast, in New England. And I know that we're going to have a legal panel, and I am not a lawyer, but 56 years after that religious accommodation was the signing of the Civil Rights Act. And Title VII of the Civil Rights Act in 1964 banned religious discrimination at work in the hiring practice and in the management of people during their work experience. But we want to note that before the signing of that federal legislation, depending on states' rights, it was legal to say to someone, because you're Hindu, you cannot have this job. Because you're Muslim, you cannot have this job. And I don't have to give you a reason as to why. But simply because I don't like or know the religious affiliation that you have, you are not hireable. That's where we were. And in 1972, Congress updated the statute, ordering companies to accommodate workers' religious practices unless it caused the business an undue hardship. But in the case in 1977 of Trans World Airlines versus Hardison, the Supreme Court narrowed that protection, ruling that companies could only deny requests for religious accommodation if they treated other workers unfairly or caused more than a minimal cost or a de minimis burden to the business. But in 2023, still behind us, the Supreme Court ruled in Groff versus DeJoy that the standard to require employers to prove an accommodation creates a substantial burden to the business operations before denying it. So that's what's behind us, at least in the United States. A rocky and provenly unfair application of equal access to employment in the United States.